You resigned from the mayoral office in 2019, and so why did you decide to resign at that point?
Well, very unfortunate, really very hateful. It's one of the pains of my life, and I'm lucky that Michael Buman, who was serving as my chief of staff, actually has captured my term as a mayor in a book called Accidental Mayor. Captured it so succinctly, and really so appreciative of this because I think looking at the difficult environment I was put under to run a multi-party government, relying even on the EFF to really be able to pass my budget and serve a stable coalition government, it's actually quite sad for me when I had to resign and share with South Africans about how DA was the most difficult partner. They used to offend me about really accusing me of providing services to people who don't pay taxes and then are not DA voters. And this for me was such an insult, and requested them on numerous occasions at FedEx level for protection with some of my fellow caucus members to say, when you read your government, you are not government to serve only those who voted for you. We are in the most unequal society in the world. We've been under ANC government at the time, 22 years. The damage that ANC had caused, we needed to really correct it. As much as I'm a devout capitalist, but I believe in social justice. I hate the poor environment. I come from there. And the people who are poor in our country are not poor because of any other thing than political leadership. The apartheid government made the black people poor. ANC government made them even poorer and actually deprived them of education, divided us along racial, ethnic, and everything. So, for me, when I was really wanting to work towards normalizing as a society, DA was against this. And obviously, the final nail came when it came to my attention that the DA leadership was negotiating, DA leadership was negotiating with the ANC to remove me, come out with a motion of no confidence, because as far as they are concerned, I'm a cheeky black, and obviously found the ready ANC happy to welcome this move from the DA, because at the time I was pursuing 35 billion rands of fraud and corruption, pursuing the arrest of senior ANC officials. Some of them are in the current government and parliament. So when DA made these advances to them, they found that, you know what, this would work. And luckily, when people plan malicious things, God brings things to my attention. So I got to know about this plan while it was still being hashed. And I called Musi, my money, to my house, and I said, Musi, are you aware there are meetings underway to remove me? And you are going to be the next ones, obviously, they can remove me. And I said to Musi, you know what? As you are aware, being the mayor is the last job in the world I want. I'm not going to be pushed by anyone. So I'm announcing that in the event that this right wing elements take over DA, I'm out, because I will not want to be associated with such characters. So I said I will wait until DA elects these people. And it then so happened that they were elected on the 20th of October, and 21st I make to call the press conference. By then, I'd already made an announcement, because when I informed Musi about this, I said, Musi said, no, he's going to investigate and do something. A week passed and Musi wasn't doing anything. That's Musi. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to let Musi determine my life and allow myself to be pushed. So I issued a press statement a few weeks before that Federal Council to elect Helen Zille as the chairperson of the DA. That if this right-wing people come back into DA, I'm out. So I'm happy to stick around until your whatever Congress where you're going to have elections. And it so happened that 20th of October, Helen Zille was elected as the chairperson of FedEx, and the following day, I resigned. Probably they thought my threats were empty, you know. And I'm not that kind of person. If I make a commitment, I do everything possible. Not that I don't change my mind, but I've got to have a good reason to change my mind. But on this one, it was not negotiable.
And so you obviously weren't done though with politics, because the next move was the People's Dialogue, and then it was time for action. And so I'm wondering, why did you decide to found Action, and what are the core ideological beliefs of Action SA upon which it was founded?
Well, interestingly, to be honest with you, I did not realize that that really made an impact to residents of Johannesburg and the entire South Africa, because as soon as I made an announcement of my resignation, you can check in all your mediums. Literally, the entire country stood up to say, Herman, please form your own political parties. Others obviously tried to get me to not resign, including Musi. And I said to guys, so please don't even to go there. And now realizing South Africans are calling me to start my own political party, because now my biggest pro challenge was now 2021 local government elections around the corner. Now, without DA, that basically means I have no idea who I'm going to vote for. Like that's why you see South Africans today. Even now, we've got a big percentage of people staying away because they are in that environment that they have no one that they trust. So I said to myself, what do I do? Are these real people? So I then obviously to conceive the idea of starting an engagement of South Africans to see if these people who are calling radio stations, writing articles in the paper, phoning me, are these real people? So I needed to run a scientific analysis to see if these are real people. And my condition was that if I get less than 500,000 people giving me an endorsement, I won't proceed. But anything over 500,000, it'll be a nice sample to start a political party. But then I had to make sure that I run this as quickly as possible, because in the event I get the mandate to start a political party, I needed to prepare for the 2021 local government elections. So that's why we launched Action SA on the the People's Dialogue on the 6th of December to run until end of Feb. To my surprise, honestly, serious surprise, 2.4 million South Africans gave me the mandate, scientific mandate. 2.5 times the number that I anticipated. So therefore, I had no option than to start the political party. But secondly, what was more important, and this is really where it becomes actually quite fundamental for me, because these were conditions which were not negotiable with this 2.4 million South Africans. I said we have to then commit on this core values. The first core value is that we all agree we need to start a non-racial political party. So we stand for non-racialism. Racial polarization, it's a dangerous thing. I lived under apartheid. I lived under ANC, the discriminatory laws. I'm tired. I'm heartful, basically. I want to live in a normal society where South Africans must be judged on their character, not on the color of skin or gender. So I said I need a non-racial political party. We must then commit on free market economy, where a government must play as minimal role as possible Unions must know that they will never have a veto right on our economic policies. We as much as I need a non-racial South Africa, and I need to run a free market economy. What also important for me was social justice. We can't live in a country where so many of our fellow South Africans, 54% of our people live under poverty. We've got to really address this question of inequality, and we've got to be deliberate. It can't be something that happens by chance. What the DA wanted. No, we have to drive to make sure that we create opportunities so that 30 years down the line, we must have the majority of our country, men and women, to be in the middle class category. Believe in the rule of law. I don't want to live in a country where people can steal and loot the country with impunity. We need to bring back the scorpions. I keep telling people lately that I want to live in a country where, once we remove the ANC out of power in 2024, we must bring the Minister of Law and Order, not the Minister of Police. We need law and order in this country. We don't need the Minister of Police. We need Minister of Law and Order. We need to do away. I'm not a believer on name changing, but one aspect I'm saying to South Africa, we need to change immediately once we remove ANC from power. Our correctional services, we've got to turn them into prisons, not the correctional services, so that people know when you violate the rights of law-abiding citizens of the country, you're going to pay a price. So avoid going to jail, because you are going to prison. You are not going to correctional services. We've got no time to think about correcting people who violated the rights of law-abiding citizens. Let us to really discourage people from actually even breaking the law. So I believe in the rule of law. This whole issue of open borders, when we have the constitution of the Republic of South Africa that spells out immigration so eloquently, that people of South Africa, like how this country was built. South Africa was built at the back of migrants, and we need to encourage people of the world. They must come here into South Africa, whether you come from Holland, or you come from Zimbabwe or Nigeria or Mexico. Come here, but come here legally. And when you're in South Africa, please respect our laws. And one thing for sure, for those who are calling for a borderless South Africa, I'm saying to them, please, South Africa will not really, we are not going to give away our sovereignty as a country. We need to really protect this country at all cost. And I think right now, with all the challenges that we are facing, I think please let people leave us alone for now. We are happy to have relations with all the countries in the world, but people must respect our sovereignty. We believe in quality education. That if I look at what the union SATU and COSATU have done to our education, as you are aware, 80% of our public schools in this country are dysfunctional. It is my dream to see the kids in Soweto, where today schools are closing, and the schools here in Sandton where I live, kids have to leave Soweto. Family members have to leave Soweto 4 in the morning to come to school in Sandton or Randburg, when schools in Soweto are closing because they are dysfunctional. SATU, it's responsible for running of our schools. We are saying no. South Africa needs one Department of Education, and the principals of schools must be appointed by us as government. We must bring back school inspectors. We must encourage teachers from here in Sandton go and teach in Soweto. The kids in Soweto, our youth in Soweto are looking for good quality education. Because once you don't have race-based legislation, then any South African can work and be deployed anywhere, because you are not discriminated against what the current ANC government is doing. And what for me it's important, we need to bring back we need to bring God back into our country, because this communist criminal syndicate called ANC, they've taken God out of our society. I grew up in an environment where, from literally birth, we go to church every Sunday. When I started school in 1966, every morning before you go to class, you go to assembly, you have a 10-15 minutes prayer session. You know that I believe it's very more than important. It's not important. We need God back, and 97% of South Africans are God believing. Whether the Christians like myself, or you're a Muslim, or a Jew, or a Hindu, all of us belong. We believe in God, and I cannot see how we must allow 2 or 3% of atheists to say that we must not bring God into schools. I think for me, this is not negotiable. I live in a free society. I cannot understand why my rights, if 97% of South Africans' rights must be trampled upon by 2 or 3% of atheists. And I'm not against people not believing in God. It's their right not to, but they must not impose their system on me. So the kids where families believe that they don't want their children to know about God, they're most welcome. They can go to class. We'll find them there. We are not going to force them. But I think for all the religions, as I say, we must learn to coexist, because if we can't can coexist and as blacks and white people, there's no reason why we cannot coexist as Christians, Muslims, Jews, and whatever. We must learn to coexist, because these are things that you cannot undo. These are God created the things. For me, that's really what I believe in. And lastly, believe in ethical leadership. When you join Action SA, you must understand where our political party is about saving society. It's not about your stomach. It's about saving society. That, yes, understand. I might be saying this easy because I come from a privileged position over the last 40 years of my life, but I know what poverty means, and I know what it means to really save society. This is a brutal job that we are doing. To be a politician, if you're committed to public service, it's a brutal job. But one thing that I believe is that once you can enter politics to serve society, society will look after you. Don't really come into politics for your own stomach, because then you are coming into politics for the wrong reasons. That's just in brief what we as Action SA stands for. That's why if you look at our constitution, we have no tolerance for stomach politics.